Hello, welcome to the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we're going to show you how to make something that's easy, quick, fresh. Talk about the ingredients here. So, I've got three major ingredients. I've got some Italian sausage, I've got some broccoli, I've got some pasta. We're going to use a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt, and that's it. So let's take a minute to talk about broccoli. A lot of people think the only part you really eat is the top. Not true. You can eat the stem too. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind when you're dealing with something like this, and even something as big and gnarly looking as this, is that as this gets a little bigger, your stem sometimes gets a little woody. You can do something about that. And these leaves for a saute dish are completely usable. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off the stem here and bust this down into a couple of smaller rounds. Take off the far bottom, because that's a little dried and fibrous. And see, the middle there is just fine. So if I go around that and take edges off, that's where all that woodiness is around the outside. So I take this, break it down into smaller pieces. So to do the top here, you're going to find that it's going to break down into these florets. Now some of them are going to be bigger than others. We're going to have to break a few of those down. But the smaller ones you can just snap off. And again, the leaves are completely usable for this. So I'm going to take a moment and just kind of nick a few of these out of here. Show you that there's a fair amount of variation in size on these. So you can break these down into more bite-sized pieces very easily by just kind of knocking down the stems and splitting them lengthwise. Since we're making a pasta dish today, you want stuff that's bite-sized. Not too huge, especially if you got kids involved. So, and then as you work your way up here, you get a little more of that stem. And up into this area here, it shouldn't be really all that woody. So you should be able to just kind of break that down. A lot of times when you buy frozen broccoli, it's got a lot of stems in it. Totally usable. Take a moment and finish this up. And we'll move on to our next ingredient. So I've got 4 links of Italian sausage here. And each of these is about 4.5 ounces. Now, you're going to notice that one piece has got a little bit different coloration than the others. These 3 are mild, this one's hot. My household, we don't love super hot things all the way around, so we're going to mix a little bit, and we're just going to put a little bit of the hot in there to kind of give it a little bit of zing, but to avoid zapping the whole batch. Now, one of the defining characteristics of Italian sausage is fennel seed. So this has definitely already got seasoning in it, and it's got a fair amount of fennel. What really makes the hot different is it's typically got hot pepper in it. There's other things in here too, but these are the major ingredients that make this what it is. So these are links, and I am going to break these down into smaller bits so that we can saute them. You can buy bulk sausage. That works just fine. So I'm going to start with this here, and what you can do, you can just slit the outer casing on this and peel it off. Buying bulk sausage will let you skip this completely, and then that really doesn't mean anything. Just kind of got a rough chop into bite-sized chunks. Knife. It's already ground, so you're not really needing a lot of actual cutting motion here. And one thing you're going to find with anything that is based on ground pork, like most sausage is, it's a little sticky, so just kind of be ready for that. You don't have to remove the casing ahead of time either. There's no reason you can't just cut it this way. So there's more than one way to do that. Just to show you 2 completely different tactics. So we've got our ingredients prepped here. We've got the sausage broken down into bite-sized pieces. They look a little big, but keep in mind meat shrinks when you cook it. This is going to come out much smaller when you're done, but it's not going to be itty-bitty, teeny-tiny. I got the broccoli also broken down into smaller pieces. I got about 3 good-sized heads here, stems and florets. There's a total of about 10 cups here. Looks like a tremendous amount, but it's one of our major ingredients, and it's going to cook down. It's going to be a lot less than you think. And I've got about a half a box of a short type pasta here. The individual variety you use is up to you. I'm not using spaghetti today, just because it's all going to be kind of bite-sized bits, and this is all going to form its own sauce. Now the sausage, by its very nature, has a fair amount of fat in it, so it's going to produce a little bit of its own oil. But to start off with, we're going to give it about a tablespoon of olive oil, just to get it started. I'll go ahead and put that in there. Laid out into one layer. And this is a 10-inch cast iron skillet. It doesn't have to be cast iron. You can use any large skillet. At one point we are going to need a lid, so make sure that you've got something that's got a lid to it. We're going to leave this alone until it starts to brown, and then we will move it around after it starts to brown. So once this starts to brown, you move it around just to get it cooking evenly, and you can see that it's starting to pick up a little bit of color. We don't want anything real dark, but we want to get it cooked, and it is pork. Now, while we're doing this, I've got my pasta going over here, so you can do these at the same time, and it's not absolutely vital that they're both done at the same exact time, but you can keep the pasta warm. So our meat is basically cooked, and you can see that we're getting a little bit of color on it here. You don't want to do this on ridiculously high heat, but start it off on about medium, and if you got to reduce it a little bit, you can. Once this stuff's cooked, we're going to go ahead and add our broccoli in. You don't have to add it all at once. It might not all fit real easily, but we can cook it down a little bit. There's other vegetables you can use for this, but we're going to use broccoli today. And I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on that, and the steam is going to help to cook that. So when you're ready to drain your pasta, I've got a Pyrex cup here, and I'm just going to dip out some of that pasta water, because we can use that to help with the sauce. Go ahead and drain that. And just kind of hold that aside. So after a few minutes, you're going to start to see that that broccoli is going to start to turn this greener color. It's going to start to get a little bit tender. You can move it around, get a little bit of it down there in the in contact with the pan itself. But most of that is coming from the steam from the stuff. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of that pasta water right in there to increase the steam, and work the rest of that broccoli right in there, and give it a few more minutes with the lid on. So there we've got our sausage and broccoli. You can see how that's cooked down quite a bit. Got my pasta here, and you got to combine these two. So I think I got a little more room in this pan than the other one, so I'm going to add the meat and veggies to the pasta. So there's that. Stir all this together to combine it. Got a little of that pasta water in there with the sausage and the broccoli, and you can kind of see that that's formed a little bit of a sauce that's starting to get into the pasta. I'm going to put the lid on this and just let the whole thing sit for about 5 more minutes. So I've got that there, and the reason I let that sit for a few minutes was so that the pasta could absorb some of that sauce and reabsorb some of that liquid, and all the flavors could kind of blend together. I've got a big bowl here. I'm just going to go ahead and dump this right in there. And that's good for serving. It's also going to give you an opportunity to just kind of give it one more turn. Make sure everything's well combined before you go ahead and serve it. So we got our sausage and broccoli and pasta here. 3 ingredients. Do not overcook your broccoli. You still want to have some color to it and a little bit of texture. Your seasoning really comes from your sausage. Super easy, fresh, very quick. I got maybe 10 minutes of prep time in this and about 20-25 minutes of cook time total. Give it a try, see what you think.